Howdy folks, Rudrose here, and today we'll be going over my last deck tech for Whispers in the Well, and this is all about detectives. Yes, this is the entire theme of the set, and we got some brand new detectives to come check out all the spooky stuff that's going on. This is I don't know what you would call it, a tribal or a franchise, or in Final Fantasy you'd call it jobs, but I don't know if they really have a term for it here in Lorcana. So, this deck is essentially built around a few key cards, and I wanted to see if there's anything here with all these detectives. And I will say up front, this deck actually is better than I originally thought it would be. Reading over all the detective cards, they read very underwhelming, so I thought, there's not going to be much to this. It's just going to be another wasted, franchise attempt at a classification keyword, however you want to phrase it. But it actually is a little better than I first thought, mainly due off the strength of this Judy Hopps. So, what does this card do? I would say this is the key card of the deck. When you play this character and whatever she quests, so immediate value as well as continued value if she sticks around, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may reveal a detective character card and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. This is basically our card draw engine, and she alone can just filter so many cards into your deck, which is what a lot of these kind of tribal decks really lack. They usually lack any kind of cohesion. And this Judy is worth building around. Now, the problem, as you can immediately detect with this card, is that, you have to build it with a bunch of detectives. The top 3 is not very many, especially in a 60-card deck. So in order to reliably hit that, you need to jam-pack this deck full of detectives. I've done some quick math, and out of 60 possible cards, 38 of the cards in this deck are detectives. So nearly 2/3 of our deck is filled with detectives. So our Judy does have really high chance to always get at least one card off of her trigger. You can also have multiple Judys out there, so you can just keep refilling your hand, which, again, gave this deck an angle I really wasn't expecting it to have. So, all these detectives we have in here, are they worth anything? Well, not so much. Let me talk about detectives in general. So if you're going to build detectives, they are predominantly in 3 colors, but really 2 colors, which is Sapphire and Steel, which is what I've opted to build them in. Yes, there are a few in Amber, but it's only 4, right? Because this Goofy is the same as this Goofy. So this is really only 4, so that's not that much. And then if you go to Ruby, there's a single Elisa Maza, and there's a few in green, which are these Basils. So again, 4. Really, the predominant cluster of them are in Steel. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 in Steel, which is still not that many. And most of them are in Sapphire. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a repeat. 7, 8. Yeah, about 10. Still not that many. There's still just... It's such a small keyword. And I'm going to show you the text on most of these cards. Most of them are effectively blank, which is really sad. So this Nick Wilde, yes, he can technically shift into this Nick Wilde, but that doesn't really come up a whole lot. He's just in there to fill out the numbers. He has no text. Minnie Mouse. You can give a chosen detective character alert the turn you play her, which is okay. She has the stats of set 1 Simba. I mean that's okay. It comes up every once in a while, but it's not that great. Mickey is still a solid piece of ramp, although we're still running both TPO, 3 TPOs, as well as 4 Sail the Azurite Seas. So he's still not our preferred method of ramp, but he's still good. He's at least solid. Basil, whenever you play another detective character, he gains resist +1 until the start of your next turn. So a 3-cost, 3/2 is terrible stats. There are 2 costs with this stat line, but he does at least get 2 lore. And then for every detective you play, he does gain resist +1. So if you're somehow able to play, let's say you play him on 3, and you slap down, 3, 4 Nick Wildes on the next turn, he's going to get resist +3, 4. It's okay. He's honestly just kind of clunky. This doesn't really do a whole lot. On occasion, it will give him enough resist to go challenge into someone, but again, it's kind of underwhelming. Same with Francine here. She's got resist +1, 4/3 for a 3 cost. I mean, that's fine. That's the stats of a Madam Mim Fox, and the resist +1's really nice. But yeah, she's fine, but it's not incredible. Donald is actually nice just because he's a 5/4. I mean, that's the stat of a lot of 5 costs, even some 6 costs. And then when you play this character, chosen detective character gains Challenger +2. So he's like so many Steel other characters that you play them, give something Challenger. Donald specifically works with detectives, but at least he's a bit overstated. And then Nick Wilde. During your turn, whenever one of your detective characters banishes another character in a challenge, you get to draw a card. He also gets 2 lore, which is nice. Why this character is uninkable is beyond me, as it has no relevant text outside of detective characters, and yes, he does count himself, but still, like, why? This is so locked in. This is one of the things that bugs me about their design. Like, there is no reason for a card that's this specific to be uninkable when he's understated. You know, he's a 5-cost 5/4. We have 5-cost 5/5 vanillas from last set. We have 5-cost 5/5s inkable this set with text like Pluto. So why is he uninkable? No idea. But nonetheless, he's okay. Judy is our main form of card draw. I'll touch on Clawhauser really quick because Challenger +2, 5/6, 2 lore, does nothing the turn you play it. So he hits as a 7/6. Fine, but most of these are just in here to fill out the detective numbers. Now, the only detective that really changes the game, and this is why these tribal decks need more of this, is this Judy Hopps, the lead detective. So 6-cost, inkable, 6/4. During your turn, your detective characters, all of them gain alert and resist 2. So it makes all of them very strong challengers because now you don't have to worry about evasives, which was something that the Ruby Steel Challenger deck really did struggle with, was it didn't have a really clean way to answer evasives. This Judy, if you've already got Francine and Donald and Nick sitting there, you drop her turn 6, boom, they all go in. They thought their genie was safe, suddenly it wasn't. So she's pretty decent. I do find her willpower a little underwhelming. You'll probably see some of these matches. She can just get blasted by a Thunderbolt. If she gets exerted by Elsa, it's very easy to challenge into her. So her stats are a little underwhelming for being so detective based, but at least she gives them something, some angle, some idea to build upon. You can shift her. I wouldn't ever shift her onto this Judy Hopps unless like the 2 lore is going to win you the game, because this Judy Hopps is just the key card to make the deck work. So outside of the detectives, we also just need some generically good cards to help the deck along. I already mentioned Tipo and Sale. Goliath, in case we can't find the Judy for the card draw engine, he's just another way to let us keep dumping our hand and refilling it. Tinkerbell and Hades are just both forms of interaction to deal with our opponent's cards. Tinkerbell helps address more of the board through challenging and the ricochet damage, and Hades just outright spot delete something. Same with a single spooky sight, just in case you're running into a board with a bunch of low-cost characters. And then Sun Scare is just spot removal on a dime. And that's it. It's very straightforward, very simple. I really wish there was more to it, because it's just underwhelming how little text all these detectives have. You know, you could throw stuff in like this Genie, like this Daisy Duck, but this Judy's so specific. Like, so many of these cards just essentially have no text. It's very underwhelming. You could throw in this Basil if you wanted to have, you know, the support on one, but I'm not really looking for the 1-drops. As you see Nixon here, but like, this is not a you must have a 1-drop type of deck, because that's not the point. So all that said, this Judy is strong enough that I do think this is better than I originally thought it would be. Let's see what it looks like in some matches. As always with these matches, take them with a grain of salt, because this is against the computer on Inktable, and while I appreciate the computer being better than nothing, it makes very poor decisions a lot of the times and will quest with characters it shouldn't. So nonetheless, always take these with a grain of salt. So we start off with Tipo into Basil. We actually have more Basils than we know what to do with. We can play Nick Wild, give our Basil resists, which still wouldn't protect us from the Cobra. It's got 2 willpower. It's just so low. Does protect it from the cannons there, but still not amazing. We get our Judy out. We actually reveal 3 detectives. Take the one of our choice. Clawhauser can start getting in there to attack. I could have attacked with the Nick, but we then lose the Nick, so that doesn't feel amazing. There goes Strength of a Raging Fire. Goodbye, Basil. There's an instance the computer probably should have taken out the Judy, because that's our engine there. Of course, we do at least have the Goliath to follow up. Nick does allow us to draw a card. Again, between the Judy, and we actually whiff there, and the Nick and the Goliath, I was surprised how much this deck could keep up with card draw. Nick gets taken out by the Zeus. Here comes Clawhauser. We drop our Judy, so now we get resist +2, and we can immediately get that alert so we can take out the Genie. Judy does, if you have a card like Clawhauser sitting there, the Judy really gives you an angle to go in and just start beating on them. There we go. I take out the Cobra, but instead of taking 4 damage, I only take 2 in return. I go ahead and ink the Goliath because I don't want to give my opponent card draw. I'm going to rely on my own Judy Hopps. And yes, sometimes you'll draw crummy cards like this Nick Wild, but you still are getting card advantage over your opponent. That still does make a difference. Is Calhoun's going to come down? Our opponent is essentially top decking, whereas I have a Judy that's threatening to get me more lore every turn. And there we go. Not more lore every turn, more cards in hand every turn. Drop another big Judy, drop another Nick. We're not going against anything with a board wipe, so we don't have to worry about that. And we can just quest, get more cards into our hand. And this will be a pretty solid win. Next, we've got our ramp, which is if you do play this deck, you're essentially looking for that. You can keep the 1-drop Nick if you so desire. He's by no means a crucial part of the strategy. You really just want to find ramp in some form or another. Ideally, T-Pro or Sail. Mickey is okay too, but just remember Mickey's going to be 1 turn later than you're used to. Here comes Hook and Nick. So probably want to go in on the Mickey this turn. We could have technically gone in on the Judy, but this way we can ramp up to the Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell especially is really nice on this board. It's going to take out both the Diablo and the Happy. And our opponent's on 3 ink, and we're already up to 6 drop on a Tinkerbell, taking out a good chunk of the board. Tipo can take that card out. And Weak Quest, we don't care if the Cobra wants to come in, especially with the Tinkerbell sitting there. It just shows how strong ramp is. And normally you'd be like, oh, but now we're in top deck mode, right? Well, I've got this Judy, and now I can just start hunting for more cards. Even if they're not amazing cards, in this case, Nick is actually probably the best thing we could get. There's still cards. They are still cards that do something for us, so... I exposed the Tinkerbell, even though he could combine, take it out, but he loses 2 characters in the process. Now they are exposed for the Tinkerbell Ricochet. Smack that over to the Genie. Get another card, which is nice when you need to just keep filling up the inkwell. Like, hey, I need to get this Hades out. Okay, I'll have that essentially worthless mini that I get off of the Judy. Fine. Just gives me more fuel for the ink. Here comes the bigger Judy. Puts a lore threat. Judy, more and more cards in the hand, yeah. Every time I use this Judy, and I was like, wow, if this card sticks around, like, it really can generate card advantage for you. Now, how much is that going to stick around in like a pro game if you're running against super duper heavy meta decks? Probably not, you know, not that much. People would certainly be running this deck if they actually thought it was that amazing, but I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you can win a set championship with it. I'm just saying compared to previous tribal decks, this one has impressed me more than I thought it would. I thought there would essentially be nothing here. But the Judy alone at least gives it some kind of angle. I just wish these detectives did more. Like, so many of them are essentially just blank. Or they just have no detective synergy. Like, this Francine is nice. It's nice to have resist +1, but nothing about her screams detective. She doesn't really get any super special bonus by being a detective. So, yeah, missed opportunity, but what are you going to do? When we got the Tipo, we can ink the Hades, get rid of that uninkable. This is probably against Ruby and Amethyst. Tipo goes ahead and ramps us, which means we can ramp with Mickey again next turn, and then we are already set up for the Tinkerbell, which we like to do. I really do like doing that, getting the Tinkerbell out on, I guess it would be our turn 4. Yeah, because it's turn 3 for the opponent. It's just so nice. It's so nice early. Now here, I actually use the Donald Duck to give the Mickey Challenger. Yeah, he gets banished by the Diablo, but that's okay. He's already done his job. I want to get Diablo off the board anyway. Here I've got big Judy Hops ready to go, and with that resist, that Donald's only going to take 1 damage in return. Again, feel free to kind of ink, get your ramp up, because this Judy should refill your hand with the alert from my other Judy Hops. Now, my Donald can take out this Genie, and she can pretty freely quest here. Yeah, the alert and the I almost said evasive. Evasive essentially is alert. The alert and the resist is so nice. And it affects them all, right? It affects every detective on the field, even herself. I will say it's a little annoying. It doesn't affect during their turn. So they can use something like Zeus Thunderbolt or Strength of Raging Fire just to pop the Judy pretty easily. Whereas if they all had resist 2 during their turn, maybe then that would have been super strong, that you can't really cleanly challenge into these cards because of that resist +2, but it is only during your turn. And it does stack, so you see we have 2 on there. So now I send this Donald into anything, boom, it takes resist +4, resist +4. Francine also has resist +1, so that's resist +5. Just from a challenging aspect, it's so good, and it very much reminds me of the Ruby Steel. But what that deck lacked was the card draw, right? So I think that's the angle of it that I really enjoy, is that it reminds me of the Ruby Steel Challenger list. It doesn't get the Mushu lore benefit, but it does get more consistent card draw than that list had access to. That list had to run things like Medallion Weights to get any sort of refund, whereas this list with your Judy, and you can throw in things like Goliath, it feels more consistent. All right, Judy's in the start of the hand. I will, as you noticed, I actually keep the Judy's there even without the ramp. This is what makes the deck tick, is this card. This is the card you're gunning for. So even without the ramp, hey, it's okay, you've got Judy. Let's get Francine out. Francine can start challenging. Actually hits for 4 as well, so she can one-shot these Palace guards, which is very nice. Resist +1 can make Strength of Raging Fire a little more damaging, which you don't have to worry about here because this is the Ruby matchup. Now, the Lumiere is slightly annoying. I go ahead and drop the Judy, start getting our engine. I like getting a card like that Nick Wilde. I have no intention of playing this Nick Wilde, but I know I can at least ink it. As you can see, the computer takes the wrong line there. Spends a lot of time on the Francine, but they had to invest so much into that. Mickey, I just decide, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm going to ramp. Let's see what the Judy gets. I can get another Judy. So we have 2 more Judy backups in hand. Yeah, opponent absolutely wants to try to get rid of this. And also will come down and finish it off. But hey, no big deal. I've got even more. And I've got a Tinkerbell, which would knock out 2 cards on this board. So I actually double ramp ink with the Sail, get up to 8. Tinkerbell's going to go in, finish off every card except the Elsa. Here comes Diablo. Here comes Genie. Hades just goes ahead and puts Genie into the inkwell. If we had our other Judy, we could just attack into this Elsa. Very effective with the Tinkerbell. But if computer's going to expose the Diablo, we can do that anyway, as they did not leave enough to shift. So now here with double Judy, take the Tinkerbell, ricochet onto the Elsa, and now I get 1 draw from the Judy. We'll get the Basil, and I could play him, Sail. And now if I start playing more detectives, this Basil will start gaining resist, which just also feels kind of redundant, right? Like you have the other Judy to give you resist. I really wish this Basil did something else. But here we get resist. We're going to get another resist. You can see the little images stacked on the Basil there. Mickey's going to ramp us some more. Judy's going to keep putting cards into our hand. Play another Basil. This Basil has resist +3. Who needs Judy when he takes no damage from a returning Diablo? And it does last through to your turn, which is kind of nice. That's the one downside I mentioned of the other Judy. So now the Basil, both of them get resist. Plus they're going to have resist for attacking. So now I just get to go heavy and I just keep getting cards in my hand. And to a degree, yes, they're not great cards, but if your opponent has no cards, well, you know, not so great cards are better than no cards at all. As this Dumbo is far, far too late. But I go ahead and give him the old sudden scare anyway to chase him back into the inkwell. And we can get the card draw 2 off the Nick Wilde. Even more, just like, look how much we're filling our hand up. Like, yeah, man, there's a concept here. There really is. It's just, it needs way more support, and it needs a much better payoff for sure. All right, I think this is the last match we've got. As you can see, I keep the Judy. Yeah, that is more important than anything else. We're a little uninkable starved here. We do have Tipo at least. Tipo help filter us out. God, we have 3 Mickeys. The game really wants me to play those Mickeys, which I probably will. All right, looks like this is against green-blue, which, again, this is, unfortunately, the computer just doesn't really know how to play this deck. Yeah, because otherwise that Prince Philip could be very, very threatening. But nonetheless, we're going to use these Mickeys and just ramp, 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 ramp. Computer exposes the Philip, which you should never do, as Mickey's going to go in and give him the old bop on the noggin. There's 1 Mickey ramp, 2 Mickey ramps, all the way up to 8 ink. Don't mind if I do. And Donald's going to help refill our hand as well. So thanks, Donald. That's kind of you. And uses a you're welcome on a Mickey. I have 2 more Mickeys. Holy moly. Is this every Mickey? This is every Mickey. Oh, tell me I go in on every Mickey. All 4 Mickey detectives. We've got 10 ink, so we can do a lot what we want. So Tinkerbell is going to, yeah, I mean, I guess that's the smarter play. But we're going to go another Mickey. We're going to ramp again. Basil back to our hands, which means let's go in on another Mickey. And the Nick Wilde. We are going to lose a card randomly. With any luck, it'll be, it's a sudden scare. It's unfortunate. Okay, so now you can see the green-blue is dropping some of these haymakers, right? These are big bodies. These are cards that, yes, we need to challenge. Get a double draw off a Nick. That feels pretty good. I can go wide here. This is one of the riskier decks to go wide against, but 1, the computer doesn't know how to play it. 2, they have no cards in hand, so I can feel somewhat safe going wide because I know they don't really have the combo anyway. I don't have any of my own card draw at this point, so I'm kind of just trying to control the board. Little Basil for Basil trade. I could send the Nick in. I will lose it, but I at least get the card draw off of it. I finally get into the Judy. We're going to have Mickey once again. Holy Mickey ramp. Already down to half our deck. But our opponent has no card draw, which means I'm going to start getting card draw. There's Judy. Yep, that first one whiffs. How about the second one? Nope, that one gets us a clean 3. Get whatever card you want. And this Clawhauser can, put a beating on any character that comes down from our opponent. Hitting is a 7-6. I can't think of anything in the game that's going to naturally survive that challenge that's being currently played. Unless someone's running some really huge popular decks. Yeah, I should just all the Mickeys are there in the discard. Judy gets us 1 more. Judy gets us 1 more. Yeah, who needs Goliath? And a lot of times I'll just ink Goliath not to help the opponent just because the Judys themselves are carrying so much. Little resist +5 there, no big deal. Quest with the Clawhauser, get the extra ink, and yeah, we're so far ahead at this point. They would need a board wipe, but they don't have the ink or the cards or anything to deal with that, so this will be a pretty easy cleanup for us. And just showing the Judy's, just, man, the consistency of the cards she gives you. Just wish you didn't have to cram your deck full of so many crummy detectives. If only there were a couple more detectives that really made it worth it to build around this card. And that's the deck. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Again, you can have some fun with this Judy. I know I certainly did. The other Judy is really good too. I just hope this isn't Brooms 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, whatever version we're on, where they give it some cards in a set. The cards they give it in the set aren't even enough, and then they just forget about it. They're just never going to make more detectives until these all get rotated out anyway. So we'll see what they do with it. If you want to have some fun, I highly recommend it. This is actually some of the most fun I've had with a kind of fun tribal deck like this. Don't expect it to rock the world or take set championships or anything, but let me know what you think in the comments below. If you've got any suggestions, I'm always happy to hear them. I appreciate you watching so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and the deck list will be in the description below. And until next time, take care.